Good afternoon, guys. My name is Noah Kataro. I'm just going to want to take a few minutes and talk about essentially what has just happened on Reddit, on r/Eve, and on the forums, and possibly in-game if you have noticed. Um, Recently, the monthly economic report came out, and basically it said essentially what everybody knew, that you gather a large amount of nerds into a nullsec space, and you don't really give them a massive war to fight on, and they're going to go ratting. Apparently, CCP didn't really understand that if you don't have a conflict, people are just going to go rat. And if people don't want to fight, people are just going to go rat. So this is the monthly economic report that CCP Quant is currently losing his mind over. Um, August is all the way on the right in 2017, although it hasn't hit. We haven't hit August yet. This is just showing us. You can see bounty prizes is currently well above, well, just about everything else. Um, you'll notice that it's been rising. It's had a lot of dips as well. You'll notice that it stays relatively stable in climbing compared to everything else. And CCP apparently thinks this is a terrible thing and that it needs to be changed now. And so, what's their bright idea? Are they going to be swapping out some cruisers and frigates for battleships? Are they going to be swapping out some battleships for elite battleships? Are they going to be swapping out battleships in lower class anomalies and putting them into larger class anomalies? No. What they're doing is they are implementing a fighter nerf and a heavy fighter nerf across the board. It's going to be 30% for the long-range heavy fighters, essentially the Amitats, and it's going to be a 10% nerf for the Templars, the light fighters. And CCP hopes that this will somehow stem the tide of this massive bounty system. Of course, they don't really mention, or they don't talk about at all about ghost training, other than to have paused the write that silly script, which completely failed at what it was trying to do. And in fact, it hurt regular players more than it hurt these ghost trainers. But I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about this. So there's been a bit of an explosion on Reddit, as you will no doubt have noticed here. Everything from anything is fucked on sub if you want, CCP Quant. Data analysis, it just goes on. This is not exactly a fantastic thing to see first thing in the morning, especially in Reykjavik, in Iceland. So CCP Quant in a thread talking about having a another new Burn Eden massive occasion again, shooting the monument, I'm guessing. A moderator made a mega thread and stickied it. People are talking in it right now. It's got 820 comments right now currently. A lot of people with some really good ideas. A lot of people just being pissed off at CCP. The usual stuff. But apparently CCP Quant wanted to step in for a little bit of a fight. And this is his statement. I'm going to link it in the Reddit thread as well that I'm making about this. Basically, he's saying that it's only the top 1% of the top 1% are pissed off about this. He's essentially building a massive straw man and attacking that instead of actually talking about anything. He pulled numbers out of his ass. He says, what sort of balanced gameplay is it when you can safely sit in a super making up to 260 million as ticks? You can't do that, Quant. I don't know if you're still ratting with your Aurora implants, which are essentially dev hacks implants. I don't know if you're ratting with your Polaris skill going on, but you don't hit 260 million as ticks in a super carrier. Not without essentially the stars aligning for you. You have to get multiple Dark Blood spawns or multiple faction spawns. You have to get a Dreadnought, a Titan, or a super carrier spawn, and you have to kill that and still going along. And you have to use a certain fit. That fit is right here. Oh, not that one, sorry. That fit is right here. This Nyx is essentially the maximum amount of ISK per hour you can squeeze out of a Nyx without going purple. And I made this one without implant. No, this one does have implants. Let's see, let's just go over the basics. You've got 2.7 billion ISK in fittings, which is mostly the, as you can see here, it's mostly the Tech 2 fighter support units, the prototype hyperspatials, and the drone damage amps. The rigs are pretty pricey as well because they're Tech 2 hyperspatial rigs, and because it's Tech 2 and it's capital, they are big. With this fit on your drones, you get some very nice application and speed bonuses thanks to the 3 faction Omnis and the faction drone navigation computer, coupled with the Nyx's 25% bonus damage or whatever it is for the hull. 20 or 25, I keep forgetting. For this, the maximum DPS you can get out of it is about 8,772. That does sound like a lot currently, but then we go up here and we look at the EHP and it's only 1.81 million. That's not really going to save you at all when Pandemic Legion or somebody drops dreadnoughts on you. You can ask Inner Hell, you can ask the German wormhole group, which I really don't want to butcher your name, I do apologize. You can ask Pandemic Legion again, you can ask Snuffbox, you can ask Shadow Cartel, you can ask... There are many alliances in LowSec who do, or LowSec and NullSec, who drop on ratting carriers, ratting Nyxes, ratting Supers, even ratting Titans. There was that kill a while back, though to be fair, he was AFK and an anomaly. CCP Quan is claiming that this is done in complete safety. If you really need to know how to catch a Nyx, hit me up. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's very, very easy, and it doesn't require you to be CCP to do it. CCP Quant, this extends out to you as well. If you really want to know how to catch a Nyx that's ratting, personal message me on Reddit, or since you probably know my character in-game, convo me in-game, I will happily walk you through step-by-step how to catch a ratting carrier, even one combat fit. For the record, this is a combat fit carrier. This is essentially one that you would drop on the front lines, like say you're fighting over a Fortizar or an Astra House, Pandemic Legion or whatever invades your homelands or whatever, and you have to, save a Titan that's been caught or save some Rorquals. This is the fit that you will want to be using. It's got 4 fighter support units. Well, this would be one that you'd be ratting in if you want to be as safe as possible, actually, I should say. If you wanted to be combat fit, there's a few other tweaks in the high slots, but I'm not going to go over that now. You're going to have as much tank as you can in the low slots. And the rigs. The rigs are the capital Trimarchs, which are now spiked to 560 million ISK. You're going to have as much tank as you can. Implants, slaves if you want. A lot of people use it, especially now, since the price has come down from 5 billion ISK for a set. Application, booster, micro warp drive. Your DPS has fallen, by about a third. Using the Furbolgs, but using the same essential setup, you're down to 5,100 DPS. However, you traded all of that DPS and all of that application for EHP. You're up to 18.5 million EHP. If Pandemic even drops dreads on you, you're going to have time to call for backup or to see if you can kill off the heavy tackle that's currently on you. You're not going to be getting 260 million ticks in this thing. There's not even CCP could pull that off, even with their Aurora implants. To get a 260 million tick, you have to have the planets align perfectly, and it doesn't really ever happen that way. you bounce off a rock or something happens. You get somebody pokes you on Jabber or on TeamSpeak or on Mumble. You know, 260 million is definitely an outlier, and CCP Quant should be ashamed of himself for essentially attempting to pass that off as the norm. Um, but you know, why is there this massive spiral? He says, this massive jump in ISK sinks or the ISK faucets in the pirate bounty payouts. It's not really because of super carriers. They talk about he talks about this isn't only screwing with the money supply, but it's dramatically increasing RMT. Well, if there's RMT, go after the RMTers. It's not exactly rocket science to go after RMTers. It's not exactly hard to fuck with RMTers, and it's not the hardest thing in the world to shut them down. Uh, I don't know why CCP keeps putting off on how it's so difficult and how it's impossible and this, that, and the other thing, when it really isn't. Anyway, I'm not an economics analyst, so I'll let somebody else talk about that. When you can, he continues on. When you can reliably sit and make 500 million pure ISK per hour per account, in parentheses, hence the number of, quote, unsubbing 17 accounts threads. Some people choose to look at it this way. You can be making over minimum salaries in some countries in RMT. Maybe in Russia. If there's no way you're making 500 million ISK an account with 17 accounts at once. Rorquals barely even pull in 100 million ISK anymore. 200 on a good day if they're picking ABCs 20, and they have another dedicated team that's flipping the belts for them. Maybe you can't even do 500 million ISK per account with 17 in wormholes, even running, unless you're running C6 capital escalations with multiple dreads on field to essentially alpha stuff off the grid. There's no way you're getting 500 million ISK, pure ISK, and I'm not even talking about mineral ISK. There's no way you're getting 500 million pure ISK per hour per account with 17. You can do about 500 million ISK an hour with a Nyx with a fit very similar to this one. But you're quickly going to burn out. It's very click intensive compared to before. It's very at the keyboard. You can't really go AFK. You can't really program a bot to do it anymore. So CCP is definitely being disingenuous when they say 500 million pure ISK per account. Why is there a lot of, if there are going to be people who are finally getting into carriers, finally getting into Nyxes, finally getting into Titans who are going to be ratting. But that does not account for what CCP Quant sees as the end of times. What is going to be people like this. People ratting in a crappy little Vexor Navy issue. Well, not this fit. I'm sorry, this is a different one. People with a crappy little Vexor who are ratting. They just got to nullsec. They've got 10 million ISK to their name. They want to afford, a frigate to go on the next fleet. So they buy one of these things. It's 40 million ISK for this fit. This is pretty disposable. It does have some backups, but if we take out the backup drones from the drone bay, it's still 34 million ISK. It's pretty cheap. This is meant to take on Blood Raider sites. Essentially, you warp in at range, drop your drones, and start orbiting and kill everything as you go AFK. These people, the people who don't have jobs in real life, the people who don't have the capital required to get into a Nyx currently, these are the people who are currently causing the bounties ratted to skyrocket. People after CCP introduced alpha clones, there have been a lot of people who have joined the game, and they want to afford a Plex to become Omega, so they go and rat and nullsec and something like this. Um, it does require a little bit of tweaking to get alpha clones stable, but it is possible. This thing does, let's see, 437 DPS. So you'll be doing Forsaken hubs. You'll be clearing them with about 30 million esca tick, give or take, probably closer to 20. If I'm being honest, probably closer to 15. And there's plenty of these people around now. After CCP's introduced alpha clones and done a little bit of marketing, they have brought in people like this, and they didn't really account for the fact that the other activities on his graph aren't really scalable. Incursions, you can only get a certain amount of people per fleet. Single system can only support a certain amount of people, and each constellation will only have a certain amount of sites to hold people. Agent missions, that's actually pretty relatively scalable, but it's not easy to do compared to ratting and nullsec. You can scale it with certain funny fits like micro drum drive, friend of fire, cruise, ravens, and stuff like that, but you will make less money per hour than ratting and nullsec, especially since you have to warp in, warp out, jump gates, do this, that, and the other thing, turn in missions, pull missions, decline them because they're faction missions, or decline them because you can't run them. Jump 2 gates, wait for the storyline, the mini arcs where you have to distribute stuff. They're not scalable at all compared to what nullsec is. Nullsec is almost infinitely scalable if you are ratting. And CCP made a change, and they didn't really consider the what would happen after the change. This is the economic index, talking about mineral prices, consumer price, and a couple other things like that. I will say it's kind of funny they don't even count Plex on here, but it's CCP Quant. You'll see the mineral price index has been in decline for a while since Citadel patch of just before May of 2016. CCP makes changes. Unfortunately, they don't really think them through. And then they make posts like this on Reddit, and they wonder why people are so upset. You want people to start, getting rid of some of the held money, in their wallets. Give them reasons to fight. Stop the timers on citadels. Nobody really wants to solve or orbit a citadel, once a week or whatever it is, with a wand or with a fleet of caracals or something shooting at it, and waiting for it to die. Because you couldn't be arsed to actually listen to the people, and you had to make it 1 week after each frickin' timer. You did your utmost best at trying to get people to clump up and don't hold extra sovereignty. But one of the things that happens when you have alliances and coalitions group up is that you don't give them a reason to fight. They're going to be farther away from each other. It's going to take them longer to get to another alliance's sov, and that means that it's going to be less chance of somebody's going to run around and start shooting at towers or something like that. Some of the best fights that we've had have been because some idiot was shooting a control tower in low sec or null sec, and a massive fight followed. B-TAC-R, for example, one of the more famous fights in EVE, I would say, basically started because somebody was shooting a tower. Moving away from Tower Sov, I can't really comment on pre-Dominion because I wasn't here for that. I will say that there's been a, CCP has definitely been of the opinion that whatever CCP says is right, and CCP can never be considered wrong. And this is definitely not healthy for the game at all. Um, CCP does need to rethink this change. They need to rethink a lot of things. Um, but it's basically CCP does not think that they're wrong and that they can never be wrong. And unfortunately, this attitude is not exactly new with CCP. We've seen this before, and usually it does require a riot, essentially, that is being organized, I believe, in this thread to get CCP to wake up. Unfortunately, it's up to CCP to want to change themselves. We can't change them for them. We can only vote with our wallets and unsub our accounts or shoot a silly monument in Jita. Thanks for listening to me rant. My name is Noah Gitaru, and have a great day.